If you enjoy the story, give it a like and feel free to leave a comment. Also, be sure to subscribe and click the bell icon to be the first to hear new cryptid tales. I'm always looking for stories to share, so if you've had your own encounter with the unknown, send me an email at cryptidtalesmel@gmail.com.
Hello, my name is Trent. What happened to me is a true story. I'm from a cattle and sheep ranch in Montana. I also have 4 saddle horses. The ranch that my cousin and I own is about 4,700 acres, comprising a flat crop and hayfields stretching on both sides of the Yellowstone River. The ranch is located 11 miles northeast of the town of Savage. We rent a ranch that's 38 miles upriver from us. That is where this incident occurred. The leased ranch is huge, comprising of over 13,000 acres. The folks that own it are multimillionaires from Oregon, who only visited a few times per year. The ranch has very rough terrain and 3 small creeks running through it. On the very northwest corner of it, the land flattens out, and there is an old corral system. There is also a long vacant house nearby in a draw. We had leased this ranch since the mid-2000s and had no trouble until about 5 years ago. It is normal to lose a few cows in the Yellowstone breaks, but we have lost 130 since 2016. We lost 17 cows the year that my horse was killed. Around half of these cattle we were able to locate. The animals that we found were pretty eaten up by coyotes, but a few we found were not. These carcasses looked a lot like other cattle mutilations, with the skin around the eyes, the ears, and udder completely missing. It was highly unusual to lose this many cattle, as they were at home throughout the winter, and there are no predators in eastern Montana that could kill a full-grown cow. All of the cattle that went missing were cows, and always between 3 and 5 years old. This event took place at the end of June last year. We had trucked the cattle to the ranch 2 weeks prior, and I was checking on them that day. Usually my cousin or his son ride with me, but they were moving the irrigation pivot that day, so I was all alone. I parked my pickup next to the corrals and unloaded my horse. This was around 9:30 a.m. My horse's name was Ace. He was a very large horse that weighed a whole ton and stood 19 hands tall. Ace was not very quick or fast, but he had great endurance, and you could ride him all day through the roughest country, and he would not tire. It was a pretty usual day until about 1 p.m. when I saw something that just didn't belong. About a mile away, I could see an animal bounding up a hill. My initial reaction was a deer, because it was about as big as one, but had the proportions more like a mountain lion. I tried to ride closer to whatever it was, but I could not find it. It was odd, but not that crazy, so I just put the thought into the back of my head. The day continued normally until I returned to my pickup and trailer. As I went to load Ace, I noticed that the rear axle on the trailer had just came apart. Keep in mind that I had not used it till earlier that morning, so there was no reason for that to happen. It was getting pretty late. It was around 8 p.m., and it took another hour and a half to get back to the house, so I decided to leave Ace in the trailer there and take the pickup home. The corral fence was all right, but the gate latch had rusted shut to where you could not close it. I had a roll of barbed wire in the pickup, so I used it to secure the gate after I put Ace into it. As I drove home, I noticed a few large lights in the complete opposite direction from the corrals. They resembled a combine's lights, although they were farther apart and brighter. Also, there would be no reason for a combine to be up here. I arrived home about 10:30 without having any trouble. The next morning, my cousin, his son, and I all rode up together to fix the axle and get Ace back. When we finally got to the corrals, we saw that Ace wasn't there. The wire holding the gate shut had not been meddled with, so there was no logical way that he could have escaped. The corral had not been used in decades, so there was grass growing inside, but that day the grass was all turned up and you could see where Ace had run around for a while. This was quite unusual, as Ace was always a calm and quiet horse. We looked for him the whole day but couldn't find him. However, we were severely limited because we were on foot. The next day, me and my cousin's son returned with the fixed trailer and 2 horses to continue the search for Ace. I also brought my dog Daisy. We split up to cover more ground, and every 2 hours we would meet up. Around 3 in the afternoon, while I was riding around the rim of a steep wooded draw, Daisy suddenly scurried down into the draw. I tied the horse I was riding, Penny, to an old cedar tree and followed Daisy down. The sides of this draw were incredibly steep, and I was struggling to make it down there on foot. For a horse as big as Ace, it would be completely impossible. As I got to the bottom, I could smell something dead, and I immediately knew it was Ace. He had not been touched by predators, but was heavily mutilated. He had the same mutilation as the cattle, with the skin around the eyes being gone, as well as the skin around the lips. However, his back legs were completely free of flesh and was just bone. His rib cage was also opened up, with all of his organs being gone. As I looked around, I could see the skeletons of at least 3 cows, and it was obvious that this was some type of dumping ground for whatever did this. I was completely dumbfounded on what had happened. There was no way that Ace could have gotten here by himself, so he must have been carefully placed there. I'd also like to mention that where he was found was a whole 2 miles away from the corrals. Nothing was adding up, and besides, I had just lost my favorite horse. I sadly returned to the spot where me and my cousin's son were going to meet, and we both rode back to the pickup. After talking to my cousin, we decided not to renew our lease. Our current lease will expire in 2022. My cousin's son spends a lot of time on the internet and thought that it sounded very similar to what had happened at Skinwalker Ranch in Utah. For the past several months, I have been studying what happened, but have been unable to come up with a definitive answer. So I submitted this in the hopes that someone can make sense of it. Feel free to share this on other platforms so more people can hear about it, and hopefully they will make some sense of it.